OpenEd. What is it all about?
OpenEd is a online marketplace for buying and selling advertising ideas.
Yep.
It enables 10,000 creatives, professional advertising creatives worldwide, to sell their intellectual property rights to clients, advertisers worldwide. It enables advertisers access to these creatives to source the creative content of their advertising. So traditionally, they would go to an advertising agency and they would be working with a geographically and numerically limited creative pool. Now they can address their requirements to 9,000 creative professionals directly in 122 countries. Traditionally, they would be paying on a time and materials basis. Now they are paying only for the license for the work that they're going to use.
To me, it sounds like a fantastic idea. I don't know much about the ad market, but it sounds like a win-win for everybody, right? You have access to amazing deep pool of upwards 9,000 professionals, right? And there's competition in there, which is good.
Yes, there is.
So okay, and so tell me, I guess, how this came about and what you guys done since then.
The author of the idea, Vital Verlic, a co-founder of OpenEd, actually had the idea probably about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And it was really to democratize sourcing creative ideation. He's one of the most successful advertising creative directors in Central Europe. And he wanted to get his hands on the best creatives in the region and further. And he also wanted to offer the work of these creatives to clients. However, 15 years ago, the internet wasn't where it is now, obviously, and one would have had to basically distribute catalogs or then later CDs and so on. But then when photo stocks went online to the extent that they did, he realized it was feasible to do such a thing for advertising ideas online. So we started building the concept and the website in 2003, and then we tested it extensively and went through several iterations. We tested it with key industry figures to see how it would best fit all sides of the business. We also needed to develop a legal framework because this is obviously precedential. One cannot copyright an idea, but can only copyright the expression of an idea. So with our legal partners, we came up with a framework that enabled actually selling these ideas online. But most importantly, we had to gain the trust of thousands of creatives who actually entrusted us with their most valuable asset, which is their ideas.
And how do you go about doing that? Obviously, legal framework you can sort out, right? There's some legal fees involved, but how do you go about reaching out to 9,000 professionals and getting them on board?
Yeah. Well, I really don't like to use the cliche, but it is very much a network of trust.
Right.
And that network of trust still needs to be established offline as well as online. So while we did everything online to facilitate the capturing of these ideas, I knew probably the first 50 or 100 creatives personally, because we went and evangelized. We explained not only what was feasible for them, how they could in future sell their work, but also what their rights and responsibilities were, because this is a professional network and it has a certain set of rules. And we vet the ideas that come into our website carefully for third-party copyright infringement, for defamation, for all sorts of legal issues. And these creatives need to know what's eligible to enter and what's not eligible to enter, whether they themselves are eligible to enter work. If they're in full employment, that's most likely not the case. So on the one hand, these are mostly freelancers, 85%. So on the one hand, we gave them a place to congregate and we went and talked to them offline, but we also educated them, for lack of a better word, and I hope I don't sound too arrogant. But, on the other hand, we're turning out...
But it's a brand new thing, right? You have to educate the market. So.
It's a brand new thing, and creatives aren't necessarily educated in the business aspects of selling intellectual property rights, right? But now... Or Web2 for that matter. But, again, as a professional network, and I do believe that there is a future in professional user-generated content, in networks the contents which they create is monetized and deliver a business advantage and in a legally organized way. And as such, we really needed to introduce these elements. And now I think we've probably got the most litigious creators anywhere because they're aware of their rights and responsibilities. They know the business aspects. They know what an assignment contract means and all of these things.
So take me really, really quickly through kind of how it works, right?
Sure.
You have advertisers on one hand, and then people, professionals on the other hand, and you kind of sit in between. How does it all work? What do you have to do to enable this?
Sure. Well, let me give you an example, and I'll give you the example of Make Poverty History, which is a consortium of humanitarian organizations that I particularly like the example of. They, in the year 2005, they wanted to communicate their activity around the G8 summit in Edinburgh. And they came to us with a brief how to raise awareness and communicate that. And that brief went out to our, at that point, I believe it was 4,000 or 5,000 creatives. And those creatives had a shot at that brief. A couple of hundred ideas came back, and Make Poverty History chose one idea, which was later realized. And it was to set up a website where people could demonstrate online through avatars, just like they would in situ in Edinburgh. That was an idea they chose. It was by a middleweight creative team from here in London. And that creative team and its agency, plus 2 other agencies from here in London, went on to produce this website. That no longer has anything to do with us,
right.
but it was a good set of circumstances that they bounded with 2 other agencies to produce the website. The website got 50,000 hits on the day of the Edinburgh Rally, which was enormously successful, without much other communication. And also won every possible industry award. So, and the agency where the creatives were from who created it got the UNICEF business on the back of that, because that was part of the consortium. So it's all about the brief going out to the creatives, and it works as a pure marketplace. Whoever's able and willing to participate in that particular point in time to address that particular brief will do. I think it's also really important that the ideas come across as anonymous. That's the hugely democratic element of it, and it appeals, we find, to both clients and creatives. Right. When you see the idea, you don't see who it's by, and that's hugely different from what the advertising world is in general. That the idea comes across without gender, provenance, reputation, seniority, any of those elements which often prevail in the selection process.
Maybe you should tell this to London Olympics. The logo. They should rerun that. But I imagine you take a cut of each successful transaction, and that is the revenue model?
Yes, that's our revenue model.
Right,
we take 22.5% on the license, but we also charge buyers, not creatives. It's entirely free of charge for creatives. We charge buyers an access to the website so that they are able to post a pitch and they are able to view ideas that have been posted in the gallery. That's our business model.
Okay. And, what's kind of the vision for OpenAd, right? Is it you're going to provide a much better service to everyone, and so you're seeing, kind of eating everyone else's lunch, in a sense, people just come to you, because why would they bother going to a single agency when they can reach out to 9,000, in one shot?
To be honest with you, I think each of these sets of circumstances has its own best fit. And yes, we are faster. What traditionally was a 2-month process, 3-month process is now a 1-week or 2-week process. We are better in that you don't get 3-5 ideas, you get tens or hundreds of ideas that are also professionally prepared and executed. And we are cheaper. And there are situations where a client will obviously still want the human interaction, and there are situations where there will be early adopters in this space, and then obviously more and more. I think in an ideal world, an agency would be using us in the name of their client, because really it just expands their creative department. And when I was working as a journalist and editor, I went to probably hundreds of industry events in the 8 years that I did it, and the underlying message was always great ideas can come from anywhere, and I think that's a very good message, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that. Katarina, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.